Hi everyone, I'm Didem Saygin from University of Chicago section of Rheumatology. Thank you so much for having me today. I'll be talking about patient support groups. I have no financial relationships to disclose. So this is the outline of my talk. I'll first talk about what is a patient support group, right? What do they do exactly? And we'll talk about motivations for using patient support groups. And we'll move on to talk about what the social media platforms such as Facebook or Instagram offer to these patient support groups. And then we will conclude with benefits of using patient support groups to both patients and clinicians. So the use of internet for health information has increased considerably in the last 20 years. About 8 in 10 internet users in the United States report searching online for health information. So as the number of patients looking online, searching online, seeking out information increased, patient support groups have emerged as a popular source of information. And also, it also provides a social support, right? It's not only a source of information, and it's mainly, I think, is a source of social support. With the help of social media platforms, those with rare health conditions can now easily find others dealing with the same health issues. Limited social cues make it easier to talk about embarrassing health issues. Also, it gives you an advantage of remaining completely invisible. Right? You don't have to share your own real pictures or your own real name even. But still, you can be a member of these patient support groups and learn from others' experiences. A number of studies have been done to identify the motivations for using patient support groups. Looks like the strongest motivation is to exchange information and seeking out advice from the people who are undergoing similar health problems regarding the management of illness. Also sharing emotions, providing support to other patient support group members, also finding others that they can emotionally relate to. I would say in clinic, usually we do our best to provide information to the patients, right? They sometimes call us if they have further questions, but still the patient support groups can be complementary to what we're doing in the clinic. The disadvantage or challenge of this is sometimes false information can be present in these patient support groups, right? Not every information shared there is evidence-based. That's why it's important to be careful. Sometimes in the clinic, you may need to correct something that the patient has already heard on a patient support group. What does new social media platforms like Facebook offer to patient support groups? So at the beginning of the internet era, patient support groups used to communicate with email, right? Blogs, forums. Now in the last 15 years, it largely replaced itself with Facebook, and that's followed by Instagram. So these new platforms offer a combination of new features. One of them is discussion forum. Someone can just post something online, right? And the other people respond. There's an interactive learning experience, share your own experiences with others. So it creates a nice interactive platform for discussions, for questions, or for emotional support. Also, it's a source of information, as we said, but it's important to be careful about the information that is being shared on the patient support group. Sometimes the information can just be a belief rather than an evidence-based observation. Social networking features. I feel like this is probably the most important feature that is being offered by Instagram or Facebook. You can create your own profile, put your picture, and you can share your own journey, what you're going through, battling with this disease, right? And you can make friends with other people. And it increases your ability to interact with others, reach other people who are going through the same problems. So what are the benefits of patient support groups? We see that the studies show that most of the patients who are members of patient support groups feel emotionally supported. Also, helping others can be empowered, right? It can offer the feeling of being a more useful person or a better person in life. Also, feeling of belongingness to a group reduces stress. Also, they're making new online friends, and it can really help them recover a sense of normalcy. These are a couple examples of patient support groups that are on Facebook. As my area of interest is myositis, you'll see the examples of all related to myositis. So these are mainly private groups that are patient-only groups. You're seeing Myositis Warrior. It's a relatively smaller group. It's a public group, it says, but as a physician, I can only see a couple posts. You have to be a member of the group to see all the posts. And when you click on join, it says that you have to be a patient and they do not accept any physician. Similarly, myositis support is one of the largest patient support groups for myositis. But again, you have to be a patient to be a member. This myositis support and understanding public page, it's a public page. So I can see all the posts here, but again, patients usually don't use these public page. They tend to use the private ones. These are a couple examples of benefits of patient support groups. On the left, you're seeing that this myositis support and understanding group is arranged a virtual meeting, just patient-only myositis patient video support session. On the right, you're seeing that they invite experts, sometimes physicians, physical therapists, psychologists, occupational therapists, to give talks that's usually related to underlying disease or coping with the disease. Also on the right, you're seeing a myositis association. Someone is trying to find a pediatric rheumatologist in New York, New Jersey area, so it can really help patients find a physician that are close to their home and taking care of patients with this condition. A couple months ago, I got a message from someone actually in India asking for a physician in a particular area of India taking care of patients with myositis. Since I don't know India, I messaged Latika, who's one of the organizers of social media course, and she messaged back to me a couple names, and then I told the patient a couple names, and a couple weeks later, patient messaged me back, and they said they went and saw that doctor, and it was a very helpful experience. So that's the power, right? That's the power of social media, power of using patient support groups. That's amazing. Continuing with the benefits of patient support groups, again, these patient support groups organize fundraising events throughout the year, especially the holiday season, like December, January. And the money that's raised with these charity events, with these fundraisings, are used for financial assistance. They help patients pay their medical bills, which is a big problem in the United States. Also, they support and fund research projects, especially bigger groups like Myositis Association. They support research projects every year. Also, as clinicians, as doctors and researchers, we would like to see patients as research partners. We want them to see themselves as research partners. We see that patient engagement in research really enhances the relevance, acceptability, and quality of the research that we're doing, because ultimately we're doing research for patients. And OMERACT is an outcome measures in rheumatology group in 2000. It's one of the first groups that recognized the need to include patients in study groups. They started this in rheumatoid arthritis studies, but now every project, every study that's going through OMERACT, outcome measures in rheumatology group, they include patients as a study group, a part of the study group. Disease classification or treatment guidelines or outcome measure development, patients have to be part of this study group. And also these patient support groups can help disseminate word about new research studies, right? These are rare diseases. Some of the diseases are very rare diseases especially. And it's important to disseminate the word about these new clinical trials or new research studies that are enrolling patients. Canadian Arthritis Network is also one of the first organizations that recognize the need to include patients in studies. I would say since early 2000, uh, including patients in these study groups really enhanced the experience. It really changed the focus of domains that we've been studying. For example, in rheumatoid arthritis, initial outcome measure studies have been focusing more on disease activity, right? As clinicians, we're focusing more on how can we control disease. But now we've shifted that a little bit. You're focusing more on what matters to the patient. For example, fatigue, for example, pain. These have been the domains of focus in the last few years. So that's all I had about patient support groups. Thank you so much for your attention.